What's up guys, this is Brennan of Steel Cogs, and this is something a little bit different. On January 21st, 2012, Dean Hall released a new mod for Arma 2 Operation Arrowhead and Arma 2 called DayZ. Essentially it was a zombie survival mod. You guys all know what it is now, but this is what it used to be like back then. Well, pretty similar at least. All this footage you're about to see was recorded and uploaded to my older channel, which I obviously no longer upload on, but I thought I would keep vid and kind of look at it to show some nostalgic purposes to DayZ, I guess. If you look in the top right, you'll notice that there's a debug monitor, and that it is the very, very original debug monitor. It shows humanity, it shows your name, it shows zombies' blood, all that other stuff. It's none of that bullshit, anti-hacks, you pay $50 for Infostar or whatever, and get a debug monitor with it bullshit. This is what the debug monitor was. This footage was all uploaded just around 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, and as you notice now, the rest of this footage no longer has a debug monitor. I believe at this time you could still toggle on and off, however it messed up your food and drink icons and blood, so you had to toggle it back off once you were done looking at it for blood or murders or whatever you may be looking at it for, just so you could see when you were hungry or thirsty and whatnot. Now, as DayZ was great at these times, there were some not so great times. This was a time where a hacker happened to get me and my friends Matt and Anthony, or Tamok and iDeactivate. We had been going towards Cabanino, which I remember it took me the longest time to figure out where this was, because we never came up north, and we actually ended up finding the car we got here in the UAZ, which was a great off-road vehicle at the time, and now pretty much frowned upon because, there's SUVs and fucking Humvees with guns on top and shit and Epoch. But we found this, Anthony found it in Electro on the docks, and it had this M107 I was carrying in it. We also had somebody in our squad with a thermal weapon, which was the L85A2 AWS, which was extremely rare and an extremely great weapon. You can see there's Anthony dead at the UAZ, and he actually was the one with the thermal. And there's the guy that killed him, and I'm pretty sure this dude was hacking because, he magically had a machine gun, killed Anthony, then I magically got killed with a machine gun from behind. And this was the same guy we saw coming into Cabanino. He was coyote, backpack, camo clothing, and we never actually saw the gun. This was recorded, or I started the recording after it had happened. But through the bad times and the good times, this game was so much better back in these days right here. And the reason being is because it was just so much, everything was worth so much more to you. Unfortunately, with Epoch, it has a trader system, so you can just, kill people or bloodbag people a shit ton of times, or kill AI and become a hero or bandit, and go to a trader and buy weapons like the AS-50 now. You don't have to go looking at crash sites and, looking through multiple servers, even if you did server hop, and all that stuff. And you can see there's, me and Anthony fixed up this helicopter. You see all the fucking jerry cans we had to take on the ground just to fill it up with enough fuel to get it off the island to take it somewhere safer to refuel. This was when there was only one helicopter per server and it spawned on Scalisti Island. And this happened a numerous amount of times. We actually had developed a trick to knowing whether there was a helicopter there or not before we even logged into a server. However, I can still not count the amount of times I had been in the middle of nowhere and actually been greeted, not greeted in a good way, but how much I had seen a random guy appear or whatnot. Not because he was hacking. I did have that a couple of times though, where people were hacking and teleporting around, but just being up way in the north and finding somebody at their camp or something along those lines. Something that you don't see anymore because Epoch has bases and Overwatch has donator bases, which is all fucking H barriers and everything's protected. And same with Epoch, more or less. As long as you have some common sense, you can usually protect your base pretty easily in something like that. In the DayZ mod originally, however, there was absolutely nothing to protect that. You had to park your vehicles in a hidden location and hope they didn't get stolen overnight when you got off, and you had to log in multiple times a day at different times to see whether the vehicles had been stolen, and you couldn't actually parachute out of helicopters at one point, because if you did, you just died instantly, no questions asked. As I said, there was no such thing as safe zones before that, in this time period, and chances were you were going to get killed as a fresh spawn in Cherno by somebody that was sniping. But if you were smart enough and you had a bit of wit, you would always be the smarter one out of that situation and figure out a way to kill the sniper, being silent, sneaky. However it may have been, I actually ended up killing an AS-50 sniper on top of Cherno once with a hatchet. Another thing I would say is that sniper rifles aren't appreciated as much as they were back in the day. Having an AS-50 way back then meant that you were pretty much, as long as you could aim and you knew how to range and whatnot, you were pretty much in charge of the server, especially if you were with a squad of people. But also having an M24 was a huge a huge advantage to your squad or yourself as well, because it was a marksman rifle. It's something you could do damage with from a range. Even a CZ550 is something you could do that with. Now nobody would touch it just because they know they can get their hands on DMRs from an easy AI mission in Epoch. Now, don't get me wrong, I obviously do like Epoch because I still play it and whatnot with Tristan. I love having battles with armored vehicles and overpowered guns, but at the same time I also do miss these extravaganzas, more or less. We used to have on DayZ. Anthony would be up all night, and we'd be up really late as well. I remember the first time we got a vehicle, it was a bus, and we headed up through through Kamenka to Zelenogorsk, and we were gonna go to Northwest. And keep in mind, this is when shit was still on the roads, unlike Epoch and other mods like Overwatch Remove now, which I will say I like that, because that shit was annoying. But I remember that we had to maneuver our way through that, and I remember a bandit helicopter. Did I really just say bandit helicopter? A fucking helicopter came flying through and basically fucked up our bus. Me and Anthony ended up in a shack together. I had broken legs and was bleeding with no morphine or bandages. And an M107, or no, I didn't have an M107, Anthony did. And basically what had happened was we ended up getting fucked up. I died. I remember I had to find my way back up there. I found a bicycle along the way. And yeah, it was pretty MLG overall, apart from the part that we died. But that's how it used to be. You used to have to fix things up by actually finding parts and not going to gas stations and paying a gold currency to fix your vehicle. And it was pretty insane. Excuse that little outro I did there. I totally forgot I fucking had that. But yeah, basically this right here is one memory I remember very, very distinctly, because I had spawned in at Starry, and I found a camp just sitting here in front of me, and then there was a downed helicopter in the field, and then a dead ghillie body that had night vision goggles on it, which I had wanted so much, and I had finally found them at that, on that body. So it was a very good moment from there on. That's when night vision goggles were very rare, and you actually had to use night vision because servers actually got night. I know the Epoch server I play on does, but I mean, like, pitch black, you couldn't see a thing without night vision. So it was always interesting having firefights like that. But basically what happened here is me and Anthony had fixed up a helicopter around a day or so before, I believe. Oh, look at this attempt at Sacriel style editing from 2 years ago. Great. Yeah, we fixed up a helicopter and we fueled it all the way, I'm pretty sure, and we were about to get off for the night because it was late, and we were going to park it way up north, which was up near the northeast airfield. Actually, no, north of that, north of Lake, I think it's a lake, Guba. Basically, if you play standalone, where Svetlyansk, or however the fuck you say that, is located now. Basically a little bit north of that, in the hills over there. So yeah, we went to park it there, and as soon as we landed, an AS-50 started shooting at us. So we said, alright, fuck this, we're out of here. So we went and landed it over more in the middle of the map, and we just assumed, it wouldn't get stolen then either. However, as soon as we landed there, or in the next spot, we mysteriously got shot at by another AS-50, which, there was only like 2 other people on the server, I believe, at the time, because it was late. So, yeah, we pretty much, Anthony got killed, and then I just logged off. I disconnected because we're pretty sure he was hacking. What are the odds that two people with AS-50s would be within the same spot? And, yeah, so Anthony got killed, I logged off, and there I was, stranded in the old fields. So I believe this turned out to be around Altar Mountain, or maybe around Lake Prud, which is kind of southwest, I think, of Grishino. And yeah, I remember I was running low on food, and I was losing blood from it, and so I figured, fuck it, I gotta head to Starry. So I hit to Starry, and I think I logged out for the day, or the next day I think that was, and then that's really all I did that day, just went to Starry, and then got some food, and then the next day, or maybe later on, something like that, I logged in, and here I was. I found a camp, and there was actually some tents. I think I skipped through it. There was some AS-50s in it, which I already had one on me. I had a M4A1 CCOSD and an AS-50 in my Coyote backpack. So I was pretty geared to begin with, and I remember very, very distinctly both Anthony and Matt asking me to bring them back in AS-50, and I was like, I can't hold it. I need my own shit for food and drink, and they're pretty pissed off at me for that. But yeah, I couldn't really hold it because that's when Coyote backpacks weren't 50 slots, but they were 24. But yeah, that's how I ended up where you're watching me at right now, shooting the zombies at the helicopter crash site, and then eventually I'm sure I met up with Anthony and Matt. And I also remember we used to play on a server. It was called US 1388, I think. And we would always parade around in vehicles on that server and try and loot up as much as we can, or as much as we could from helicopter crash sites. And it was insane. You know, some of the stuff we'd find sometimes. We were so happy when we'd find sniper rifles at them, and the occasional very, very rare L85 AWS. And those were some fun times. I remember actually one time, me and Anthony didn't know that the L85 AWS was a thermal gun, and we found it in a tent on Sniper Hill and Electro, and we just gave it to Matt because we were like, oh yeah, here you go, here's an assault rifle or something. And I know a lot of you guys are probably saying at this point, oh, well, then why don't you go play DayZ? I've played DayZ, and it's you know, it's fun, it's pretty cool, but it does not by any means have the same feeling as this did. This was just an amazing mod. I remember it was pretty much the reason I built my computer, well, my original computer. I guess it's still an original computer. I've just fucking upgraded graphics cards twice and added some other shit too, like hard drives and whatnot. So yeah, this game is what started me on PC gaming. Well, I actually had some PC games before I bought this. But yeah, it's pretty awesome to look back on this stuff from 2 years ago, and me and Anthony don't really talk all that much now because he's busy with shit. Whenever we do, though, we always fucking talk about times like this where, or times like when the hacker teleported to us right as we finished, fixing the chopper on Spillisty Island, and I got so fucking pissed off and rage quit, and this, that, and the other. We spent like 3 hours fixing the chopper, and yeah, shit like that. And believe me, if I had any fucking knowledge of modding and any of that shit, I would have made my own mod more than a year ago that pretty much restored this with some bug fixes, you know, like fucking jumping out of helicopters and insta-kill, shit like that. And yeah, this was some of my best PC gaming days right here, even though they were my first ones. Then again, I guess, you know, it makes sense. Best days, or the first day is the best, you know, something along those lines. But yeah, so, you know, who knows what the future has for DayZ. Maybe standalone will get this feeling at some point. Who knows? But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I guess this wasn't really. Well, yeah, it kind of was a rant. But yeah, if you played DayZ back in this time, leave a comment and shit. And yeah, peace.